of childhood epilepsy. Here with more from Washington is Bloomberg's healthcare reporter Anna Edney. This feels like a huge step forward for the medical marijuana industry. Just talk us through what changes have taken place and what the likelihood is perhaps this portends the form of greater openness as far as this use is concerned.
Well, I think that really depends on who you talk to. So GW Pharma, which makes the Epidiolex that you just talked about, that the FDA approved, they see this as sort of a huge step in the direction of showing that, a company can take a marijuana-based drug and run it through clinical trials and get all the approval that they need to, which takes many, many years to get to market and to be proven safe and effective. And then, you might have the medical marijuana industry, the larger industry that is doing this, that, is legal in some states that, will want to be able to use this as a way to say, look, our stuff is safe, but FDA is not going to let them kind of piggyback on this, even though some people may kind of take that as the way that it will be, but it's not, it's not what FDA is saying, but it might be what some people are going to perceive from this approval.
Well, but even for this particular drug, as you say, it has FDA approval, but it is running into the federal interdiction on marijuana. And so this is not the last approval that this drug is going to have to get. What happens next?
That's right. So even though it's FDA approved, you're not going to see it on the shelves for epilepsy patients anytime really soon. The Drug Enforcement Administration has to come through and schedule the drugs. So they have 5 different levels of scheduling, and that determines what restrictions are put on it to try to deter abuse. They still have to do that. The CEO of GW Pharma, Justin Gover, told me that he expects that to take about 90 days. So at the earliest, this could be something that hits shelves in the fall.
Anna, the maker of this drug, GW Pharmaceuticals PLC, obviously PLC, that's a British company. How does its being domiciled in Britain allow it to race ahead of other pharmaceutical companies in developing marijuana-based drugs?
Well, what helped it here is, the FDA, or not the FDA, but the U.S. government has some restrictions on researching marijuana. It's very, very tightly kept, and so there's only really a certain grower that's able to give out medical marijuana for research, and there are others that are, you're supposed to be able to apply to get that marijuana, and you're supposed to, be able to research it, but researchers say it's really, really tough to do. And so since GW Pharma is in the UK, they were able to have a little bit of an easier time researching it, and they're going to make it there as well, because they've been based there for 20 years or so, and then they're going to import it to the US.
And Anna, to be clear here, this is a drug that's approved to treat epilepsy. It will not make patients high or feel the effects that they would from smoking marijuana, for example. So it's interesting that the DEA still has to have that approval process that you talked about.
You're right. So this drug has CBD in it, and so that is a different type of cannabinoid. It's a different component in the marijuana plant than THC, which is what gets people high, essentially. But the DEA, since it's still derived from the marijuana plant, and they schedule marijuana as Schedule 1, which means there's no, in their mind, no medical reason to be taking this, no medical properties that would help anyone. They need to take a look at it to figure out, well, if you don't include the THC, you just use the CBD, how exactly is that going to be scheduled?
All right, Anna, thank you so much. Anna Edney, our Bloomberg healthcare reporter, appreciate it. Interesting, and those GW Pharma shares, by the way, are lower today, although they have had a run-up so far this year. And don't forget to check out our